Catacombs of Ireland. I don't know what she's on about. She's trying to defend Anne Frank. Like, there's no defending Anne Frank. Like, she got caught. Obviously, there's no defending Anne Frank. They tried. They failed.
The opportunity passed a long time ago.
The opportunity passed in, like, the summer of 1944. So Dudley had just thrown a fit because they're like, you can't have a room devoted just to your broken PlayStations. Mm-hmm. I mean, ColecoVision's revisionism, whatever. Mm-hmm. Whatever existed in 1988 when this happened, which was not PlayStations or computers as they were described word by word in the previous paragraph. So they tell Dudley that he can't have this room full of his shit because they love Harry so much. It's not because somebody knows exactly where he's living. His exact fucking living situation is going to snitch on Child Protective Services. It's because they love him. And Dudley
isn't buying it.
He's not buying it. He breaks everything. He punches his dad. He kicks his mom. He breaks the neighbor's other leg and other cat that wasn't broken. He just throws a huge fit over Harry having, like, basic human rights met by, like, the most basic UN tribunal. Like, you must feed him and not have him living with spiders in a closet because we don't do that. This is a civilized 1980s. Like, we got people selling drills out here. Like, we can't be doing this shit. And so Harry Potter's like, he's feeling pretty good. He's got a room now. That's better than the first 10 years of his life. Think about that. A room. Wow. It's full of broken shit. And he's like, this is great broken shit. And like, yeah, I said, he remembers like when exactly it was all broken. Because he never got gifts. But he lived like vicariously by remembering the gifts his cousin got and broke in front of him. Or on him. Using him. Like, just using him as a battering ram to break through a room full of PlayStations that his fucking fat parents bought him. And yeah, so he's in a room now. Next day, more letters come. They now say, Mr. Harold S. Pottersworth, tiniest room they could find that isn't legally defined as a closet because it has egress, technically. Privet Drive. And they're like, oh shit, they're still stalking us. And they will not let Harry open any of these letters. And that's like, I don't know how England is, but that's like
mail tampering.
That's
felony.
Mail tampering. But it's not even USPS. It's not like England. I don't know, their version of like Royal Post Mail, I think is what it is. Royal Post Mail. Like the Queen just like floats down on a corgi and hands you a letter. It wasn't that. It was owls. Like they just have fucking wild birds dropping letters like it's normal. Nobody's asking questions. Why these like nocturnal only predator birds that thousands of years of history not been trained to do anything. They're now delivering letters to this one house. All of the letters to one house in England. And the uncle's like, he's had enough. He's like, I'm done. And then he gets all smug because it's Sunday. And there's no post on Sunday. Oh Lord, was he wrong though. A shit ton of letters just come through. Like he boarded up. He thought his solution, being the bright drill salesman that he wasn't to use one of the drills that his company made to like attach a piece of wood over. No, he badly nailed a piece of wood over the flap that allowed mail in through the door because they don't have mailboxes in England because they're stupid. And he thought that was a solution. Like I cover up this hole.
Mail can't come through.
Mail, like, Bills can't come through. I don't gotta pay my mortgage. Fuck them dental bills. All that shit forgotten now. Out of sight, out of mind. Just like Harry Potter for 10 years. Out of sight, out of mind. In the closet. And Harry's getting pissed off because he's just like, he's getting beat for no reason and locked in his room. At least he has a room now. Like, I remember at one point he's happy that he's like, go to your room. And he's like, I have a room to go now. I wonder if they just stuck him like as a baby in under the stairs.
Just left him there crying.
That seems about right for them. Well, yeah, because when they brought Harry like as a baby, Dudley was already fat. Like, they'd already explained that it was a fat baby. Like, it was predestined fat. Like, legends foretold fat.
I mean, it's in the name.
It's Dudley Dursley. Like,
it just sounds fat.
It sounds like a pastry. A cheap pastry that you don't want to eat. But it's between that and the taquitos that have been there on the roller for like 3 days. So I'll take the Dudley Dursley, I guess. Whatever will kill me faster.
Please. Please end my suffering.
And that's how Harry Potter felt. So his uncle's mad because like there's mail even on Sundays. Like, why would there be mail on Sundays? It just broke him. So he starts like being a madman, and he just tells them they need to load everything up. We're leaving. So I assume he told his company he's taking his vacation time and all this because he's a legitimate drill salesman. I remember that part. Like, he sold power drill. Like, he was happy. Like, oh, I'm top of the market British drills. Our drills outdrill your drills. But, yeah, like, he's just like, pack your shit up. And then Dudley, like, he tries to pack up a computer with a monitor, I guess, and a keyboard. Like, nowhere to plug it in. And he tries to pack up all this shit. So he gets yelled at. And even Dudley's getting abused now. Even Dudley's getting yelled at. Uh-oh. So Harry's like, Something's going on. Like, what is these letters? And he starts driving, like, backwards and then taking turns. Like, and then a left turn and then a right turn. And he's, like, listening to Alex Jones on the radio. And he's, like, looking behind his shoulders and shit. And, like, he takes him to, like, this, the shore on, like, a stormy day. And he's like, we're going to rent a boat. You see that little speck of land over yonder in the distance? That's where we're going, because mail can't get there. Because it's so important that mail doesn't get to where I'm going, that I'm going to go to that rock that is only accessible by this little rowboat that me, my fucking fat drill salesman self, I'm gonna row over there with my gangly fucking horse-tooth wife and fat kid. They row over there and there's just like a shack on a rock, and like he has a paper bag and there's like 2 pieces of bread and some shit in the bag, and like they use the bag to start a fire, but he's happy because there's no mail. And Harry's like, he's sitting there, regardless of what the British education system did to his cousin Dudley, Harry at least knows dates. And he knows, like, tomorrow's his birthday. So he's counting down to celebrate his birthday. And there's, like, a heavy storm because of the North Sea or wherever. I don't know. It's just a rock. I don't know English geography or geology, either of them. I don't know what rocks England is made out of. There's a wild storm, and Harry's like, he keeps hearing shit. And it's like, and it gets louder and louder and louder, and then there's just a boom.
Just like that, puppy.
Just like that, puppy. There's a boom. And the door gets, like, busted in. And it's not as shocking as it should be for the door to be busted in on this shack that we just rode to in the middle of the ocean. Like, there's another person here. It's not that shocking. Like, he's not that shocked for some reason. And this like giant tard man walks in, like shambles in. Like, he's like this giant, like homeless person basically, with like a giant coat with like mice and shit in it. Like he's just a homeless person. He talks like a homeless person. He cooks like a homeless person. He's a homeless person. Homeless Hagrid. Like, and Hagrid is just short for Haggard because he's a haggard-ass fucking homeless person.
Yeah, I could not understand fucking any of what he was saying.
I don't think you're meant to. I think you're just like, it's simpler times. You're supposed to look down on simpler people. Because, like, I think, like, he's half giant, and, like, that's synonymous, like, half retard in Wizard World, apparently, because, like, the bigger you are, the stupider you are in Wizard World. Because, like, the elves, or, there's no elf, I don't know.
You're getting mixed up here somehow. No, there's elves, there's a little house elf.
Yeah, there's house elves. But those are smart. But, like, the trolls and the giants are stupid. So, like, the bigger you are, the dumber you get. Yeah, it makes sense. So anyway, this big guy Hagrid breaks the door open. He's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, just like that.
And oh yeah, the other thing that he had in that paper bag, it was like 2 loaves of bread. I keep thinking double-sided dildo, but that's that movie with Jim Carrey where they pull out a double-sided dildo out of like that's the one where he has a split personality, and like his split personality like plans their escape, and like it's a paper bag and it just has a double-sided dildo in it. And like vodka. So like yeah. I keep getting that mixed up with what his uncle had. But it's like 2 loaves of bread or whatever, like a fucking microwave pizza or something, and a gun. Like in England.
Ooh.
Like he broke the law. Or he knew some people. He knew some drill people that like knew the lord of somewhere who was the duke of some other place. Who could have guns because he had a fox that he had to hunt.
You're thinking too far into this gun backstory.
It's England. Like, you can't have a knife license. I gotta have a backstory for this gun. Like, I better. So he was a respectable drill salesman with a house with a mortgage that he could be tied down to. And multiple people vouched for him that he wasn't insane. He just sold drills. And he could have this fox hunting musket. So in case he got attacked on his vacation outing to this tiny rock in the middle of the ocean in the stormiest night in the summer. Yeah, it's the middle of summer because his birthday's is July. It's like the middle of summer. It's the same as Neville Longbottom's. They have the same birthday. Like it's the same.
I don't think they do.
No, they do.
They have the same birthday?
Ish.
Okay.
And I think that prophecy was like, some bitch will have a baby in the middle of summer, and that baby will fuck your shit up. Apparently there was only 2 babies born that whole summer in the wizarding world, which is the world that matters, because they're racists. They're racist against us muggle folk. Simple muggle folk with our fucking non-wizarding, not like having GPS and knowing which street Harry Potter actually lives in fucking technology. With fucking email instead of owls. I don't know where I'm at.
They're on the rock. Hagrid comes in.
Yeah, he comes in and like the uncle pulls the gun out.
Oh shit.
And he tries to shoot him. And Hagrid grabs the gun and uses his tard strength to like fold it like Superman into like a heart shape, probably like cartoony, and hands it to him like Porky Pig. It's like, that's all, folks. And it's like, rrr. And like, I can't understand a word he's saying, even in written fucking language. He's just mumbling about, and he's like demanding to know where Harry is. And it's like, Harry's like, I'm Harry. No, of course you are. Because at first he thought the piglet Dudley was Harry. But he realized, like, no, you're much too fat to be Harry. That's more my Harry. You look exactly like how I abandoned you 10 years ago, 11 years ago to this date. Or whatever, 10 years ago. Exactly. You don't look like that other fat piece of crap over there. I can tell the differences because...
Wizardry.
a hobo. It's my terminology. And he said, "You get out of my fucking shack in the middle of nowhere." They just rabble at each other like walruses. And he settles shit down, like he pimp slaps the uncle and tells the bitch, like, "You mind your manners over there in the corner." And she's already like a battered housewife, so she minds her manners in the corner. And like he starts poking, he has an umbrella, like a really faggy umbrella, like that's much too small for him. Like it's much too small for this giant man. And he like pokes it at the fireplace that they have in the shack in the middle of. It just sounds like the Book of Mormon. Like Hagrid told me to dig up this in the shack in the middle of the ocean. Wow, that makes sense to me. I'm a wizard. Yeah, so this giant man bursts into their house in the middle of nowhere. That they
Specifically
went and drove in like zigzag swastika patterns while listening to Alex Jones. And then took a boat from like a rickety old boatsman when he was like, it's like, no, it's like the worst weather to be out there. And like, no, today's the day. It's Sunday. There's no post. Like double sure. And it's a holiday too. So like there better not be mail. So this guy shows up, bursts their door in, bends their gun like a fucking Looney Tunes sketch, bitch slaps the dad, and starts a fire with an umbrella. That's where we're at. And he's like, "Oh, Harry, let me take a good look at you. I got something for you." And he's like rummaging through his hobo jacket. He's like, "I might have sat on it." And he brushes some mice off of it, I think. And there's a cake. It's his happy birthday. But it's like a really shitty cake. Like baked by a retard in the woods. Level quality, like this is not Ace of Cakes. Level quality cake. This is not even like Walmart level quality cake. This isn't.
This is
fucking
Hobo Kitchen cake.
This isn't fucking like 7-Eleven quality cake. This is Hobo in front of 7-Eleven on PCP quality cake. And it's all smudged and like.
But Harry's happy.
Harry's and like gives it to Harry, and then like he starts he's like, let me cook. Like, he pulls out, like, sausages out of his pockets, because that's what hobos do, and throws them in the fire, starts cooking them. And then, like, a little fat, like, Dudley is, like, eyeballing them all fat-like. Like, he's eyeballing them, he wants them sausages. Like, that look that Dudley has is the same look your fat-ass cat has whenever I bring Fancy Feast into the house. Like, my cat, like, knows there's Fancy Feast, and she demands it. Like, she's like, "I want the good food." Your cat, like, sits in the corner fucking just, like, scratching its neck to get at these sausages in a fire. Because this is the longest Dudley's been without, like, proper food. He's only eaten, like, 2 cakes and a loaf of bread this whole day. It's horror. It's going horrible. He doesn't have his PlayStations that don't exist yet. Like, he's got no time to throw computers that should be the size of the entire house at this point at his mom's face. Like, his day is ruined. Like, he's upset and he wants them fucking sausages that are in the fire. He's like, who are you? Giant hobo man pulling sausages out of your pockets. He's like, "Oh, I'm from Hogwarts. We've been having some trouble contacting you. You must know." He's like, "What? What? What?" He's just like, "What?
What?
You're just like making up words now," which he was at this point in 1998. He just made up googly gawk. Hogwarts. Like, he's 10. He doesn't know about STDs yet. Like, Hogwarts sounds like an STD. At most. At best. At best. It's an STD. At best.
What's at worst?
I don't know. Hogwarts sounds pretty bad. Anyways, he's like, "Hogwarts." And he like turns around and the uncle is like, "You mean you haven't told him?" Of course we haven't told him. We're not going to have him be part of that pish-posh rubbish nonsense.
They didn't want Harry LARPing.
He didn't want him LARPing. And he's like, pish-posh nonsense? How dare you? How dare you? Does he know who he is? And, like, wizards don't have Wikipedia. So Harry couldn't just, like, if they were advanced like us, they could just, like, HTTPS, not whatever. I don't know how you access WizardNet. If it's HTTPS or if it's, like, Griffin Protocol, like, fucking Dementor, Griffin, Mermaid, dot, Google, which already sounds like a wizard word, .com, / they call it backwand, who is Harry Potter? Or who am I? Why am I locked up in a closet? Like, there's computers in this house. I should be able to Google this. But except they don't exist yet. Because it's 1985. And this bitch is already all sorts of fucked up in her timeline. So they're like, yeah. He's like, pish posh what? And he's all mad at them. And like, we didn't want to tell him. And he's like, tell me what? He's like, don't you know? What don't I know? You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
I'm a what? Yeah. I'm a what?
I'm a what?
A wizard, and I'll blind me good one once you get some schooling into you or something like that.
Might be that exactly.
Might be that exact phrase. Harry just accepts that he's a wizard. And then, like, his aunt and uncle just start trashing his parents. Immediately, like, none of the shit that they told you, like, they were trash, they didn't pay any of their bills, fuck them, they just left you or some shit. And he's just like, he doesn't even care that he's trashing their parents. He's like, you didn't tell me I was a wizard, which at this point should have been like, that shouldn't be the point you're arguing, child. Like, wizards aren't real. At this point, at least, like, you should be like, okay, before I accept that I'm a wizard, giant man who just
crashed down the door,
bent the gun, and pulled sausages out of his hobo pockets. And he gets all, like, mad at his parents, and they, like, admit, like, yeah, this bullshit, we didn't want, like, you knew about this school, and she's, like, going off about her sister used to go to this school, and, like, come back with, like, all sorts of ridiculous bullshit, frogs and shit. Frog spawn gets mentioned at some point. And, meanwhile, they're all arguing, the giant angry man is angry, Harry's angry, Uncle's angry, Aunt is angry.
Everybody's just mad.
Everybody's mad except Dudley.
He just wants them
No,
sausages.
at this point he has his hand on the sausages. And he's eating them. And this is when that hobo sees him and gets like, what are you doing? Thwaps him with his fucking umbrella, with his fucking Mary Poppins umbrella. It's like a combination. I don't know. It's like a pimp umbrella, Mary Poppins umbrella combination. And there's just like, bang. And Dudley, like, scuttles behind the couch, holding his ass. And they're like, what have you done to my son, my beautiful son? And he just, like, he has a pigtail. Because his hobo was bad at magic. He's like, I tried to turn him into a pig, but I guess he's already close enough, so this will do. To mask for the fact that this is a man who doesn't even have a wizarding GED. He got kicked, like, out of school during the 3rd grade. And, like, they felt sorry for him because his mom was a giant. They were afraid of her. But, like, his dad is dead, and they felt bad for him, so they just allowed him to, like hang out with the security guard at the school. And then, like, 30 years later, this is the person who they entrust to go get the most famous wizard in all of wizardom. They trust his wizarding GD having motherfucker. Doesn't even have a wand. He has a broken wand inside of a fucking umbrella that he's not supposed to have. So he covers up for the fact that he does have a GED by saying he's close enough to a pig, whatever. And he turns around and he's like, oh, let me tell you a story about you, Harry. Like, you're famous and shit and a wizard. Like, everything you thought, think the complete opposite of that, and that's what you are. Like, you thought you were just this, like, lonely boy in a closet. Turns out, like, you're a strapping young lad who's a wizard and everybody knows you. And I have like millions of followers on Instagram and shit. Like he doesn't even know he has an Instagram page, but he has followers. Like who are they following? Who's posting? They're just like, they click follow on an account that has 0 posts, doesn't even have a profile picture. A profile picture is a baby picture, and with some rubble behind it of his house burning down. And they all click follow. You have followers and shit, Harry. And he's like, no, you're wrong. I'm just Harry. He's like, no, like, let me tell you, Harry, your parents, they're wizards, they're good ones, and this bad wizard, he killed him. What was bad wizard? I can't say that. Well, spell it. Well, there's no wizarding grammar, so I can't spell. Is literally what he says, basically. So it's Voldemort. As if that's any better. As if, like, a handful of vowels thrown, like, scratched on a piece of paper or on the ground with an umbrella wouldn't have been better than Voldemort. But don't say it because it's hush hush, even though he's dead. And his like uncle's like, don't feed him any of that bullshit. He's not going to that school. Blah blah blah. We're not paying. And he's like, he's whatever. Fuck you. And basically, he abducts Harry. He's like, Harry, it's your birthday. Eat your cake. They can deal with their little piglet tail having son themselves. You know what? You're coming with me. We're stealing their boat. Like he just like taps the umbrella, puts the door back on, and like takes their boat and like taps the water and goes boop, 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 and like propels them across. And he tells like Harry, like, don't tell anybody I did any of this because I don't have a wizard GED, and technically I'm not supposed to be doing any of this. So this hobo abducts this child from an island in the middle of nowhere. And he takes him to London. To like the middle of the hood London. Like the worst part of London. And then he takes him into a bar. This hobo,
like where else do you take
this hobo takes his 10-year-old boy. It's clearly not his son. Because the son isn't 20 feet tall like him. And a hobo.
Just a very scared looking child.
I cannot emphasize enough how much of like a hobo jacket this man has. Because earlier I skipped like when like they woke up, when they're like, yeah, I'm abducting you tomorrow, basically. Like an owl came at one point, brought him news and was pecking Harry. And he's like, what do I do with this owl? And he's like, you gotta pay him. Look in my pockets. So like he looks through like all these pockets and it's just like full of like pies and lint and like things he can't and mice, like live animals. He finds a coin he can't recognize and he gives it to this owl that is somehow like he's not afraid of this thing, just brought him a newspaper and is pecking him. He's a hobo. So he takes him to this bar in the hood in London and everybody there like knows the hobo. Like, hey, what's up, Hager? Hey, whatever. And he's like, what are you doing here? Oh, just school business. Who's that? Oh, that's Harry Potter. They're like, Harry, who? And like, everybody's talking about him in the bar. He's a 10-year-old child.
Who just got abducted. And
everybody in this bar knows his name, and they're whispering it.
And they were listening to Alex Jones on the way. So
whatever.
His mind's all fucked up.
His mind is all fucked up. Like, he's like, what? I'm choosing to believe you. You didn't just abduct me. I'm choosing to believe you that I'm a wizard.
What if this whole fucking next series of books is just like, it's fucking trauma?
It is. Like, you don't accept, like, you have to be very, like, that's
like, if you unravel this shit, it's like some
yeah, because he's 10 years old living in a closet.
Is that all it was?
I mean, like, Dursley was a drill salesman. I'm sure there was some drilling involved.
Jesus.
Or whatever. Well, Child Protective Services isn't getting called in, whatever's happening. Clearly. Otherwise, this book wouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. Like, we've already skipped so many, like, when I should call Child Protective Services ads you saw on TV. You skipped all the, like, basic, like, books on how to be humans, family, loved ones, child raising. All of that shit just got skipped. Horrible people. Yeah. Let's a hobo take him to a bar. Everybody's whispering his name. And he takes him up to, like, this dude with a turban. This 10-year-old freshly abducted child who's following a hobo into a bar in the hood of England. Just, everybody knows him, whispering his name, takes him to some guy in a turban. Is like, hey, this is Harry Potter. And he doesn't run away. At this point, like, he should have ran away. And the turban man is like, he's babbling and, like, neurotic. And he's like, yeah, that's going to be your teacher. It's the best we got at Wizarding University. That quivering turban man, he's like, yeah, he's seen some shit. He's got wizarding PTSD, something. So he takes him out the back, past all the creepy wizard pedophiles, into the back alley, and there's just a brick wall. And he's like, oh shit. Like, I've been avoiding this all in my head up to this point. Like, this is it. Like, Harry starts taking his pants off, and Hagrid just taps his umbrella to a brick, and it unzips. Zip! And there's, like, a bustling metropolis inside. And Harry's like, for the first time, I think, like, it dawns to him he's not going to get raped in the back of a bar in Britain by a hobo. Like, this might be true. All this nonsense he told me might be true because he just unzipped a wall and there's a bustling metropolis with all sorts of wizarding shenanigans going on down there. And he takes him to do his school shopping because, like I said, the person without the GED is the best chaperone for everything. And he's like, Harry's like looking around all this shit that he doesn't know what it is, but he knows. Like, he's 10 years old. He's watched enough TV. He knows Uncle Dursley's a businessman who sells drills to a Jew somewhere. And there's shekels involved. And he's doing the. He's like, how am I going to pay for all this? And Hagrid's like, don't worry about that, Harry. You didn't think you're like all that shit your aunt said about your mom being a trank-ass bitch. It was true. Like, they had money when they died. We got to go to the Wizarding Bank. Like, of course. They didn't trust their wizarding shekels to, like, mere mortal Jews. Like, they had their own race that they developed for this. Goblins of Gringotts. So he takes us down to this bank run by these clearly Jew caricatures. And they're like, oh, what are you doing here, Hagrid?
You ain't got no money.
Yeah, like, you don't have any money. Like, you owe us money. What are you doing here? He's like, I'm on school business. Like, and he flashes them the fucking Hogwarts Visa expense card. And they're like, oh shit. And who's this? He's like, it's Harry Potter. And they're like, oh shit. We gotta take him down even deeper into the catacombs. Let's go get his money. So they get on this little roller coaster contraption with one of the little goblins named Grip Hook. I remember his name. I think he comes back later on. Spoilers. If they have a name, like, they come back at some point. Like, there's, like, people like the whispering pedophiles didn't have names. They didn't come back. The teacher with the turban, Quirrell, he comes back because he has a name in a feature. He's a turban, even though he's white. Like, he just goes about the world exploring shit or whatever. It's, like, implied. This is, like, the more I talk, the more it sounds like the plot. It just sounds like that Club Chef joint in South Park where you thought it was, like, an adventure club. They just went and, like, abducted little boys and wore turbans and shit. Like, that's what was actually happening here. Harry Potter's some fuck shit. Children should not be reading Harry Potter. There's already Jews and shit. It's much too woke. Much too woke for children. Anyways, they go down. He's like, I gotta go to two stops. First, like, I think it doesn't matter which order. Like, he had to go to a vault. He's like, you know who. He's like, I gotta go to vault. You know what number to get you know what for you know who. Like, he, as if anybody, like, you could have told him the things and he's retarded, he would have forgotten. And if he had remembered what they were, he would have mispronounced them and nobody would have understood him anyways. So whatever. Like, vault, he's like being all cryptic, secret agent man. You gotta go to those vault and then the Harry Potter vault. So you go to the one vault and like Harry's like trying to see what's in it and like there's just like one thing in it and he can't see what it is and like Hagrid just like grabs it and shoves it in his pocket. He's like, it's some shit for school. Dumbledore made me pick up his newspaper or whatever. And Harry Potter's like, oh, I guess it didn't matter. Or it could be like very relevant to the plot. I don't know because I'm about to be distracted by the next vault, which is just like, I don't know what his dad did. I don't know what wizards do. I know some of them work for the government, the wizarding government, and like you would think they would get a pretty good wizarding government paycheck, but like the only example you have of gets made fun of, like other wizards are like, you work for the government, we think you'd be better off. So I don't know what his dad did, but he had a lot of gold because like Harry Potter's family's like ancient or some shit, is like wizarding Rothschilds or whatever. Like they're like the purest of the pure blood, and then his mom's just a hoe from like the country who could do magic better than the rest of the people who are actually wizards. She's the Hermione of her time. You haven't met Hermione yet because we're still on chapter 2 now. Chapter 1 was Harry gets abused. Chapter 2 is Harry gets abducted by a hobo and taken into a bar full of wizarding pedophiles. And then, like, later on to, like, an underground cave made by wizarding Jews. But he's at his wizarding Jew cave and he has, like, this... Yeah, his dad's, like, rich. Has all sorts of, like, stacks of actual gold coins instead of, like, they have computers at that point or not. Just stacks of, like, actual bullion, precious metals. And he just, like, Hagrid, he just takes some of it and scoops it into a bag. It's like, that should be good enough. And let's go do your shopping. And he's like, the first thing you gotta go get a wand. Or I think Harry asks him, like, where do I get one of those that you don't have? Chaperone. I want to be like you, chaperone, but like the other people around you that can actually wield these things you're telling me about. Where do I acquire that device? He's like, oh, the best in the world. Ollivander's. He's been running it since like ancient times. You can tell. Because they walk in, it's just like dusty shelves, like ancient dusty shelves of little like wand-sized boxes. So it's like an ancient dildo store, basically. And this like ancient old man comes out and like looks at him and like tells him you look just like your father, but you have your mother's eyes and all that bullshit. I remember their first wands. And then, like, he perfectly describes, like, his dad's wand because he preferred his to be firm or other homoerotic words. And I remember your mother's because she wanted hers to be willowy or, like, feminine version of those words. I'm going to find you one. And then he starts just, like, shuffling, like, bringing boxes with sticks in them and giving them to Harry. Like, here, hold this. And then just, like, puts it in his hand and then takes it out. And then repeats it, like, multiple times while muttering to himself. And Harry's like, is something supposed to be happening? Like, he's questioning it already. Like, what if I'm not? Like, how will I know? Like, I've never waved a stick and magic came out. Like, how do I know? And the old man's like, like, you're a tricky customer, Mr. Potter. Like, huh. What do I do? He's like, huh. What about this one? Like, he finds a box and he Jengas it out of a bunch of other identical boxes with identical ancient amounts of dust on them. Blows it off. He's like, this one. And Harry grabs it, and it just comes, like, it just, the stick in his hand just comes, unicorn magic, goes, and he feels warmth and loved and embraced for the first time. And the old man's like, that's clearly the one, but it's, like, fucked up. And Harry's like, what do you mean? He's like, it's strange. He's like, I hadn't explained all this before, but all these things are made out of, like, some magical thing. And, like, those magical things tend to, like, apparently dragons only have one heartstring, and phoenixes only have one feather, ever. Even though we have this giant room full of other phoenix feather wands. They're like, what else are these, like, unicorn hair wands? But, like, yours is a phoenix. I think it's a holly stick or some sort of wood. I don't know. I think it's holly. Just to be, like, extra 20-year-old. I haven't read this, autistic. But he's like, but this phoenix only, like, it only has 2 feathers. And I only made 2 wands out of these 2 feathers. And the other one I made was the one that gave you that scar on your forehead. I guess I should have mentioned he had a scar on his forehead. He just had it because, like, he didn't care. Like, he's just like, when he asked about it, they're like, oh, it's from the car crash that killed your parents. Like, stop asking about it. Get back in the closet. Go back under the stairs, but only after you're finished doing laundry for us. So he's like, hey, Harry shudders, I guess. Hey, Hagrid's not there. Like, he abandoned him at this door. Hagrid's a horrible chaperone. So he's like, yeah, like, the other wand is the one that gave you that scar and killed your parents and all this trauma, blah, blah, blah. You don't even care about. All right. 17 shekels and out of my store. And Harry goes out, and then he goes to, like, get clothes next. And he goes to the magical clothes store because they need robes that they don't portray in the movies ever. Is I'm wearing, like, jeans instead of robes that they had to pay, like, top dollar for to get, like, witches whose entire, like, purpose was to point their wand at a measuring tape that then measured the young boy. Like, if they would have taught these bitches, like, calculus, they could have done, like, wizarding programming to have something calculate the dimensions and shit. Like, they didn't need the tape measure, but they're wizards, so whatever. It makes sense. So he's there, and there's, like, another boy that's there, and he's, like, being all snobby and, like, telling his mom that he can get his own robes or whatever, and tells the bitch to, like, get off. That's, like, hemming the robes for him, I guess, because they still have to hem them, even though they're wizards. They can just, like, flick their stick and these things appear on them. And he's, like, the bitches leave, and he's talking to Harry about shit that Harry has no clue what he's talking about. And he just thinks the kid is kind of douchey, whatever. And then Hagrid shows up with, like, ice cream outside, but they don't allow giant people into the store. So he's just outside, and, like, the other kid's like, who's that retard? And Harry's like, that's my friend. And the other kid's like, oh, well, I can't be friends with you, I guess, if you're hanging out with that thing. Fucking elbow. My mom says I can't. I shouldn't talk to people that look like that and offer me ice cream. But Harry goes outside, he's a dumbass. And his giant hobo is just waving to ice cream, giant wizarding ice cream from Flambeau's Wizarding. No, I'm not joking. It was like Flambeau's Wizarding Ice Cream Emporium. The best wizarding ice cream in all the world. We got all sorts of wizarding flavors, like, you don't even know about. Like, this one right here is called Dragon's Blood because it's red. or blue, because you don't know what dragon's blood color is because they don't exist. Or you haven't learned about it at this point, Harry. But he goes outside and he does delicious wizarding, whatever, and he goes and he buys his, like, the rest of his shit on his school list of required shit, like a cauldron. But, like, Hagrid doesn't let him get, like, the good one because they have, like, gold cauldrons of spinners. And, like, Harry can afford that shit. And, like, he's been broke his whole life, so you know he wants to front like that and just buy the gold cauldron. But, like, Hagrid's like, it says pewter right there. Pewter will do. Stop trying to fucking connive this young man out of his well-earned fucking death estate. Shekels. Well, man, pewter will do. If it says pewter on the piece of paper, pewter will do. You can't get your gold cauldron with spinners. Okay, so he gets all his supplies in this wonderful wizarding Diagon Alley, magical back of the bar, touch your magical object to a brick in an unzips world. Does all his shopping there, and I guess Hagrid just, like, leaves him there, like with like actual, like, bus fare to go home. But he goes back to his bum ass Muggle family because he has to ask them for a ride to wizarding school. Because the hobo just took him shopping and then abandoned him back into this mundane, abused life. But, like, they're being better about it. Like, they had to go get, like, to a country that you can't pronounce to get surgery to get Dudley's tail removed. Like, a country where nobody asks questions about a human growing a pigtail and, like, maybe magical sparks coming out of it when you try to remove it and shit. They had to go remove that because he didn't want to get bullied at his homo school of boys that whip each other with sticks.
Wait, that happened in the course of a day? Like, while he was out shopping was the time that they tried to get him surgery and shit?
It's like, it's implied. It's like, I guess, no, like, he goes shopping and he drops him back and he has to spend the whole rest of the summer there. Because school starts, like, in September. I'm pretty sure. He just has a piece of paper, like a scroll, that says, you're in, show up at this place at this time. And Harry, like, is afraid to ask his uncle for a ride. And they didn't have Uber back then. And I guess he didn't know how to, like, take his, like, actual gold coins and turn them into British fake currency. I believe they call them euros. I think there was... No. They don't have euros, do they? They have pound.
I think it's both.
But back then, the European Union didn't exist, so it didn't even matter. This is 1984, before computers and PlayStations. That already got mentioned within the first chapter of this book, titled Abuse. So yeah, like he has to ask his uncle for a ride, and his uncle just laughs.
Wait a minute. Like, Hagrid...
Yeah, he took him
shopping, saw, like, saved him, quote, quote, from
and then just...
all that shit, and then just said, like, have fun, go back and deal with that
for
the rest of the summer.
I don't remember that part particularly, but he had to spend the rest of the summer because he had to ask for a ride home, or a ride to school. Because, like, the whole point of it was his uncle was laughing at him because his ticket said, like, a metro station that didn't exist. It's like you had to go to King's Crossing, and it was bus stop 19 3/4 or whatever. 18 3/4. I don't know. It clearly is not a whole number, so it can't exist to this man who is in business and deals with dividends. So he just laughs at Harry. And fine, I'll take you. And drives him there and, like, kicks him out of the van. Is like, good luck finding this thing that doesn't exist. And Harry's there with, like, a trunk and an owl, because Hagrid got him an owl named Hedwig as a gift. Because you're allowed one pet, and I think Harry wanted a monkey. Like, a fire-breathing monkey would make sense to me, but Hagrid's like, no, you'll want an owl, they're useful. You don't want none of that flashy shit. You can't be flashing this new money. You're actually old money, Harry. You're not new money. Start acting like it. You got him like a nice, prestigious owl that I'm sure suffered a very dignified death. That wasn't completely just like he's dead, which it was. So he gets this beautiful like owl, and he takes him. Yeah, he takes the owl home to his bedroom, and has him in a cage. And his family's like afraid of him because he's a wizard, and the hobo threatened him and turned their kid halfway into a pig or whatever, and they have to go to like the third world country to get it removed. Somewhere where nobody asked questions, but they had enough money because they sold enough drills. Yeah, he just abandoned him. So, and then the uncle abandons him at this King's Crossing, the train station in London, for the unknown or whatever. Harry's like, all right, I'm 10 or I'm 11 at this point, so I can count to 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes to 11. Goes to station 13, 14. Like, he starts getting up. He doesn't notice any decimals or fractions. And he asks, like he's getting nervous because it's time. And, like, he asks, like, the guy who's supposed to help. And he's like, what the stop fucking me. This fake-ass ticket. Like, that doesn't exist. Go away, kid. But then he overhears people talking about this train station that didn't exist. Uh-huh. So he follows them. And it's a bunch of like loud, poor, redheaded people that are babbling loudly about wizardry while nobody notices. In the middle of London, like the busiest train station during rush hour. And so he follows them. And he's like, he goes up to the mom and he's like, excuse me, ma'am, how do I get into this thing? He's like, oh, it's your first time. Oh, it's the first time for my Ronald. You should go together. And then, like, he watches and then she turns to, like, her two sons who are identical. And she's like, you go first, Fred. And the guy who's clearly Fred says, I'm George. You can't even tell us apart. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sure this gag will be resolved by this chapter. Not go on until last book. And he's like, I'm actually Fred. And then they both just ram into this wall between the regular station and the regular station where the fraction should have been. Not even where it should have been, because it's like station 18 3/4. And they all rammed at half. Because they're wizards and they don't know math very well. They don't have fractions. They know enough to like write them down as they're like awkward. This is where you should be going, but they rammed halfway down the middle of this thing, and they just disappear. And Harry's like, "What the fuck?" And so, like the oldest one goes and does it, and they all do it, and Harry's just like, they just like ran into that thing. What if I run into that wall and it's just a wall? Like, what if this is when I wake up and I'm still in that closet? And there's drilling or whatever. But he runs to that wall, and there's a train on the other side, and there's all sorts of wizarding folk with their wizarding kids putting them on this wizarding train. And there's all sorts of animals and shit. And he gets on the train. He gets on with that redhead kid that like his mom helped him get in. And the redhead's like, he's like, what's your name? He's like, I'm Ron Weasley. What's your name? Harry Potter. He's like, blimey. He's like, blimey. Whatever that means. Blimey. It's real. Like, you're real. He's like, yeah, with the scar. And like, Harry's like, yep. And he pulls up his hair and he has a lightning bolt scar. A Thor scar. And he's like, so it's all true. He's like, yeah. And then, like, this bitch rolls up from the train in the middle, and she's like, trolley cart bitch. She got all sorts of wizarding candies and shit he's never seen before. And she's like, you want any of my wizarding candies? And the redheaded kid's like, no, I'm poor. My mom, like, he has sandwiches that she packed him. And he, like, hides that as if that's something to be ashamed of. Like, no, bitch, I came prepared for this trip by my loving mother who slaved over her wand all morning waving these sandwiches together. But I'm ashamed because I'm wizarding poor. And Harry's like, I'll buy all of it. And then he just throws, like, he doesn't know. He's been taught the basic rudimentary wizarding exchange at this point, which makes no sense. Because they got galleons, there's giant gold coins named after, like, Spanish doubloon, like, the boats that carried doubloons were the galleons. The boats were called galleons.
Yeah.
The coins were called doubloons, I think.
I don't know.
And then, like, that gets broken down into, like, 17 knuts. Copper knuts. Like, just throw a silent K in there because it's wizarding. And then those knuts can be broken. Or no, it's wrong. There's silver shekels in the middle. It's like 1 gold coin is 5 silver shekels, and then like it's 17 knuts, like the copper money, the poor people, like the pennies of the wizarding world. You know, like they don't need money. They're wizards. Whatever. He just throws. He has a bag with. He doesn't know the exchange rate. He doesn't ask what this costs. He just throws like what is probably too much money at the witch, and she's like happy, and she's not gonna report her expenses and keep it as a tip, and just leaves. And Harry's like, he tells like the poor kid like, "Come on, like eat this shit." What is this? First of all, it's like chocolate frogs that like actually move, but they're chocolate, and they have a card in them. And like he grabs the card, and it's like it's Dumbledore. He's like, I've heard of this person. And then Dumbledore just walks away. He's like, like, he just left my card. It's like, is it still worth the same amount of money or whatever? The point of collecting wizarding cards is because the person's no longer in the image. And Ron's like, would you expect him to stick around all day? He's got like picture people things to do. He's like, that's just Dumbledore. Like, I've got a million of those. There's all sorts of like Oakfridge the Great and all sorts of other wizards that you gotta learn about, that they also have cards. That so far, up to this point, 11 years old, the basis of my wizarding education has been these cards, apparently. Which I can't afford. So Ron is stupid. So they're just like eating these frogs and all this candy that has like magical names, and like it's very described how delicious it is and magical, and so much of it in quantities and everlasting. It goes
back to the beginning when you said she was just a secret fat.
Yeah, and she's just describing all these gluttonous goods that Harry just threw a sack full of too much money at this bitch who is an intern. And then they describe him eating this gluttonous feast. Like, they forget about the regular sandwiches, which are probably delicious.
And made with love.
But, like, they're roast beef, and we got wizarding chocolate. So they're eating all this bountiful feast of wizarding candies. There's, like, so many, like, there's... I don't know if it's all, like, described in the first. There's, like, vampire lollipops and, like... candy that's bugs that walks away, candy that bites you, candy that does everything except be edible. Made out of like parts of things that you didn't even know existed. Your uncle beat you for like watching TV movies. Like you saw a movie, you're like, does that thing exist, uncle? And he just beat you. Like, the candy is made out of that thing. Is delicious. And a lot of it, and they're constantly eating it, and nobody gets fat. There's fat wizards, they're shown, but, like, they're retired. Like, once they retire, they can be fat. Like, At school, they can just whatever. So Ron's like, they start talking about magic and shit. And Ron has a rat. He's like, I don't know a lot of magic, but my brother's taught me a spell. And then this like bitch comes in, and she's like described as black. Apparently, it's like this bushy haired, like big tooth girl walks in. She has big teeth. Even though her backstory is her parents are dentists, so that doesn't make any sense. She has like giant teeth and bushy hair, which I guess to J.K. Rowling means black people. I'm imagining what by that description she's just imagining it's a racist caricature. It's all like she's just a racist. If that's what she gets. Like
that's
it's more
going for.
It's more racist for Hermione to be black than for Hermione to be Asian. Is what I'm saying. Because like the length she had to go by her own description for this little girl to be apparently clearly Ethiopian black. She comes in, she's like, Are you guys about to do magic? I wanna see. And I'm like, fine. She's looking for a toad. At this point, she's like, because there's this fat kid looking around for a toad too. Nobody wanted to help him because he was fat. Wizards are fat races. Sometimes. There's a pecking order established. And fat kid lost his toad immediately day one when they got on the train. And then the bitch is like helping him look for it. She stumbles in, as she will often do, and catches them in the middle of like experimental wizardry. She's like, I want to watch. And Ron's like, fine, whatever. He like points his wand at his rat, and he's like, it's like daisies. What other flowers are yellow? It's like daisies, buttercups, whatever. Mellow. Turn this stupid fat old rat yellow, and then he like pokes it. It goes, psst, and the rat like bites him. That's all that happens. And the bitch is like, you must not be very good at magic. I've only tried a couple of spells back home from these books that I got. Like, I haven't actually tried them out, but like I read the books. So, and then like she's like, let me show you, and then she fixes Harry's glasses, which are broken up at this point, hand-me-down glasses. Instead of fixing his eyes, she's like, look how good I am with magic. Taps his glasses and fixes them. So that shows you that dynamic. That uppity bitch is better than you. She just comes in and like does the wrong thing. Clearly. So then at some point that other kid he saw earlier comes in. That like he saw at the Wizarding Road place. He's like, I wanted to know if the rumors are true. Harry Potter is on this train. And he hangs out with trash. He's like, points a rod. He's like, oh, and he hangs out with trash. I know you. You look poor shit. The books, like your parents got them at the thrift store, Wizarding thrift store. Like, you must be a Weasley. My father tells me about your people. Like, he's straight up like that. And he's like, Potter, like, I'm sorry if I came off wrong earlier, but like, you have to watch out. Like, you don't want to be caught with trash like this, nigga. And Harry's like, I like this little ginger man I just met who ate half my Bountiful Frog candy feast with me. Like, he's my friend. It's like, you've made your choice, Potter. This will follow you for the rest of the series. This choice right now to not be wizarding royalty, instead hang out with wizarding trash. And he sneers at like the girl because you don't know at that point, but like, I don't even remember at what point you learned that she's like wizarding Untermensch. Like, she's just a regular muggle. She's not like Harry, who's like happens to be the most magical wizard ever, who got just put into shitty circumstances and Child Protective Wizarding Services didn't get him out of there soon enough. Like, she just was born mundane to mundane people, but she can do magic. Or she has the potential to do magic, and somehow this school knows about it. They spy on her MySpace and shit. They see her likes, and they know she's going to be a wizard. But, like, the uppity kid can tell immediately, like, she's a mud person. She's a mudblood. He's racist. He's drawn his lines. I don't like those people, and I don't like poor people. You might as well be those people. Harry's like, I like poor people, whatever. I'm poor. Like, Harry he wasn't raised by poor people. He was raised by probably very well off, by judging by the amount of broken PlayStations that didn't get, like, those cost $699. Like, that's the accounting that I'm doing. Like, I know how much a drill costs. A drill costs depending on what kind of drill you're buying. You know? Like, but I know the prices. You know? I know how much money his uncle made based off, I know the prices of, like, a good drill. Like, even if he's selling, like, the bootlegs, it's like $100 for, well, they have cordless because it's 1984. $100 or whatever for a drill. At that, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know a 1984 drill prices. Fuck. J.K. Rowling, you outsmarted me, bitch. Anyways, like, he wasn't poor, but they raised him poorly, so he feels more closely connected to the poor kid.
He wasn't poor when he was raised poor.
Yeah. Like, he was raised poorly, so he feels more connected to the poor kid. So that, like, the train ends, and, like, all the older students, it's like Auschwitz. Like, all the older students go immediately to the right, and all the first years, there's just the hobos there. First years. He's yelling towards a boat or a fleet of boats, and all the first year, like, kindergartners, wizarding kindergartners, have to get on rickety boats and cross this lake to this castle on a hill. It's beautiful, it's shining, it's magical, and Harry's like, wow. But he still doesn't know, like, anything about wizards. He just knows the hobo. He doesn't even know that he doesn't have a GED at this point. And he knows the poor kid who couldn't turn his rat yellow. And the daughter of a dentist. 2 dentists. So they cross the boat ride, and luckily the fat kid has found his toad. Or no, Hagrid's like, is anybody looking for the toad? Like, and the fat kid's like, yeah, oh yeah, that's my toad. And so he leads him up for no reason, like, makes him cross this lake, walks him up to a castle, and then it opens like clunk clunk. And there's just an old witch there. And she's like, I'm Professor McGonagall. You're about to attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Follow me, and we will commence the sorting. And Harry, like, didn't know what the sorting was, so he's worried. And, like, his poor friend, like, his brothers just bully him, so they don't tell him the truth about wizarding school. Like, it's like Fight Club. So they, like, tell him all sorts of stories. You're supposed to do all sorts of fuck shit. Like magic. Like, you're supposed to just do magic. And Harry's like, fuck, I don't have any practice. I wasn't allowed to practice this stick at home. I just got it from a hobo. And the man told me, like, this stick is the brother of the stick that killed my parents. I just got this. Still dealing with all of this. And now I gotta, like, prove my wizardhood in front of the whole school. He's like, fuck. And so there's more doors, and it's like clunk, 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 and there's, like, a big hall. It's like all the students are already out there. There's, like, 4 tables. And, like, this guy comes up and gives a speech. And he looks like Merlin or whatever. It's Dumbledore. He's like a half-moon spectacles and long gray beard, and like he always wore purple and lavender. It goes into detail with how plush and luxurious his robes are and shit. Like, he wore, like, nice robes for an old man. He's like, he just says some horse shit, like, that doesn't make any sense. And they sing a song, and they bring a hat out. It's some, like, Masonic shit. And they just start calling alphabetical names, and it's like, Abbott is the first one. She goes up. And she just watches, like, Harry's just, like, looking through the crowd, like, at this girl. Like, she puts a hat on. And Dumbledore's like, this hat's gotta, like, tell you which of these houses you're gonna go into. There's 4 houses. Each one has its, like, strengths. There's Gryffindor, Slytherin, and Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. And each house gets a table. And you fight over that table and over points. And the green table is the bad guys.
Slytherin, I don't think he says that up front.
No, but it's like, even at this point, Harry knows, like, Ron was telling him, like, all this, like, Slytherin are bad people. Slytherin are bad people. And he's just watching all these people, and they put the hat on. It's like Hufflepuff and Abbott, Hufflepuff. This person, Ravenclaw. And he sees that, like, the kid, Draco Malfoy, the racist kid, the wizarding racist from the train and the wizarding robe store. He goes up there. His name is Draco Malfoy, so he's like, it's alphabetical by last name, so he's in D's. He gets up there pretty quick. There's only like 100 kids per class. Or per year. Like, wizards only breed at a rate of 100. No, it's less than that. It's like maybe like 50 kids per year. Not a very, like, reproductive people. Other than the Weasleys. They had like 9 kids. I think. This is like, Percy's the oldest. He's like the head boy. He's fancy pants. And then, like, Ron tells her, like, that's my brother. He's the head boy. He runs to, he's fancy pants. Look at him. Woo. And there's my 2 twin brothers who you met earlier, Fred and George. They're like bros, and they're in the football team. And they lie, and they just, like, do shenanigans all the time. They're pretty cool. And I have, like, 2 older brothers. One's, like, a wizard fighter named Bill. No, Bill's, like, no. He's less, no. Bill, and who's the other one? One fights dragons, and one breaks into ancient Egyptian tombs.
Okay.
Yeah, like, it's...
But they're poor.
But they grow up, and they moved out of the poor people house, and they, like, got a Hogwarts education that took them places. So one became a dragon wrangler, and the other one became, like, he broke into... Like, they still hadn't figured out how to break into the pyramids at this point. They needed wizards to do it. And he was the wizard. Bill and... Man, what's the other unforgettable Weasley's name?
Just call him Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Weasley's the dragon guy. It'll come to me at some point. I'm really...
Not drunk.
It was for sick.
The first reference of her bullshit that I'm going to call her on is from the talk page of a Harry Potter fandom wiki. And they're like, is the snake that Voldemort had the same snake that Harry set free?
No.
And it's like, no, one was a boa constrictor from South America who uses constricting, like, you pointed to the map. I'm from South America. I want to go get them bitches. I'm a boa constrictor. He flexed his muscles. I constrict things. And Nagini was a viper, had fangs, venomized things, used venom to immobilize its prey, not constriction type of snake. 2 different types of snakes completely. Let alone, not even J.K. Rowling has tweeted about this. Therefore, like, you're wrong.
Wait, they thought that first snake was Nagini?
She's always going off about it.
What?
She says like she called up like her ex. Like she's like, I called her on that shit all the time. And I'm like, every time I've just like kept quiet. I'm like, oh child, like I'm 10 years old. Like that's just some stupid logic.
Right.
Like J.K. Rowling would have tried to make a book about it if it were true.